put it inside me. That's what Silicon Valley is saying about something called peptides. These ostensibly magic drugs aren't exactly legal and are often sourced from unregulated factories in China, but that hasn't stopped them from exploding in popularity amongst in-the-know techies and corporate bigwigs, with promises that they can do things like burn our fat, tan our skin, focus our brains, improve our sleep, and horny our libidos. And it's promises like these that are just now inspiring normies to start poking themselves with the magic juice. Yet one question remains. What even is this stuff? And is this all gonna end really bad?
No.
Okay, that was 2 questions, but...
Are you on peptides yet, Dan?
Nope.
I inject them every day into my dick.
Okay.
Simply put, peptides are chains of amino acids that help
How's that
your
going for
body
you?
perform...
Well, it's very painful, and it's gotten really small and everything, but it's darkest right before the dawn, Dan.
various functions, from
Okay.
healing a muscle tear, growing
I
skin
bet Vegan
cells, or
Gains is
producing
taking peptides.
He's probably on a lot of shit. Who knows? He might be.
an entire above-ground pool's worth of testosterone, as mine's been known to do. There are some famous peptides you've probably heard of, like insulin and oxytocin. Peptides like these are created inside of the body using proteins that we consume through food. But the things that we'll be talking about today are peptides that are created synthetically in a lab and are then injected straight into your bod with a needle. You might be familiar with glucagon-like peptide 1, or GLP-1. Drugs like Ozempic or Wegovy inject a version of GLP-1 into your body, which helps you lose weight. These shots are legal and have, quite frankly...
Rogan is a retard. Does he talk about peptides? Jorgen shuts out his plasmapheresis procedure. This yellow-orange liquid is plasma. It carries a lot of the inflammatory proteins, toxins, and byproducts. They separate it out, remove what they don't want, and replace it so your system can function cleaner. Went down to Ways to Wells and did plasmapheresis. This is stuff they pulled out of my blood. The yellow-orange liquid is plasma. Damn, we have that much plasma in our bodies? I just want pure blood.
Looks like orange juice.
I want pure blood. No blood with no plasma in it. If they could find out how to get rid of the plasma and the RNA, or the mRNA shit in your blood, you would be fucking... It would be Kino. Imagine if they could install into your body devices that could do plasmapheresis for you. They could just filter out all the bad shit from your blood constantly to maintain your homeostatic balance or whatever. That would be sick. You could be detoxing every day.
When you get back, you want to learn how to do drifting?
Yeah, let's go. Let's drift.
That doesn't
inject
sound
a
like you're
version of
serious.
GLP-1 into
You have a
your
drift
body,
mode in
which
your
helps
car.
you lose
Really?
weight.
That's
These
what you
shots
said.
are
What?
That's what you said.
Yeah, I turn on every time I want to crash my car.
So you don't.
These
No interest then.
shots are legal
see.
and have, quite frankly,
Okay.
been everywhere the last few years. But their popularity has spurred a hunt to find new
Yeah,
injectable
we got
peptide
him. We got him
drugs
outta
that
here,
might also
boys. We
yield
did
other
it.
health benefits, which is how we've reached the more colloquial umbrella term of peptides, referring to stuff like GLP-1s, but also dozens of different experimental and off-label shots with names that, when spoken, make you sound like a total droid.
I'm on Retta, Tesamorelin, and then NAD nasal.
IGF-1 LR3,
BBC TB500.
EPC 157, GLP-3, GHKCU,
GHK,
TB500,
Was that Darius?
EPC 157, GLP-3, GHKCU,
Young Darius?
GHK,
TB500, Retatrutide,
Melanotan 1,
CJC,
BBC 157,
GLP-1, N-acetylsaline, GHKCU, BBC 157, DSIP, MOTS-C, Tesamorelin, IGF-1L3, epithalin, thymosin alpha-1, ARA-290, virilantide, PT141 oxytocin.
What? Since these shots are unregulated and understudied, not a ton is scientifically known about what peptides will do to your body. Yet peptide takers hope that stuff like BPC 157 will repair their muscles, GHKCU will reduce their wrinkles, dihexia will help them focus more, ipamorelin will help them sleep better, and Slytherin will help them diabolically scheme against the boy who lived. Sometimes these peptides are sold individually, but they can also be combined to create so-called
Super
stacks.
peptides, yes!
Groups of peptides taken at the same time to get different effects. Many pep pushers that corner you in the gym shower will talk about their own unique stack, although certain ones come with fun nicknames like the Wolverine or Glow Stacks.
There's such a broad category of things being sold as peptides that it's hard to really paint with a broad brush, because on the one hand, the GLPs, those are safe. People have been taking those for, decades now. So we're currently in the early adopter phase, just as we've been with any other kind of like new development where there's the first crazy guy to get a car in the late 19th century. And to be clear, like there certainly are risks that are, because a lot of these things haven't been studied at all really in a clinical setting.
So we don't know necessarily if the people taking peptides now are like the first crazy guy to ride a car, as you said, or like the first guy to give their baby opium, essentially.
We don't know that, no.
Ezra Marcus is a reporter with glasses who wrote a piece about his own experience uncovering the world of peptides before then deciding to put them inside of himself.
I wanted to go through the kind of process that any consumer of this stuff would go through. So I went through two different routes. The first was I went to a above board regulated, to some extent, med spa, and I said, I'm a reporter, I'm interested in peptides, what do you got for me? They basically were like, well, we have this thing called NAD for you. The med spas generally are limited to what they can legally obtain.
Okay.
Then I was like, well, let me go through the sort of other channel that people are engaging in with this stuff, which is what you're seeing more from your kind of teenage looks maxers. What I did was I went on Reddit, on the peptides Reddit channel, and I just started DMing people like, hey, I want to talk to you about peptides. And some guy was like, cool, join my Discord. And there was a representative from a Chinese factory manufacturer in the Discord who would sort of handle all their orders and claim to be testing the samples, and it was all just sort of, she was just selling directly to these people. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just buy the cheapest amount of retatrutide that they sold, which was 10 5-milligram vials for like $150.
Are necromancers any good?
Bitcoin, and 2 weeks later, it showed up on my doorstep. Labeled, of course, for research purposes only.
Folks, does your investing app feel like a game? Well, if you're looking for a broker that doesn't also seem like your bookie, I invite you to try out Public. Public is the investing platform for folks who take their investing seriously. It's a place to build a real portfolio, one for the long haul. We're talking stocks, ETFs, bonds, options, crypto, treasuries, you name it. You name it. You name it. You know what? You name it. You can even build your own investable index with AI. You can just type in a prompt, something like renewable energy companies with high free cash flow, or maybe companies that make things I can actually touch with my hands, then boom. Public's AI screens thousands of stocks and builds an index that's all your own. You can back test it against the S&P 500, refine the holdings, invest it with real money, the whole kit and caboodle. Kit and caboodle? That's the whole thing. Go to public.com/goodwork to sign up. Public will even give you an uncapped 1% match when you transfer your portfolio from another brokerage. That's public.com/goodwork. Thanks very much to our friends at Public for sponsoring this video. Now, the vast majority of peptides that are being hawked on the talk are not federally regulated and have been listed by the FDA as maybe being harmful, which is why you'll often hear influencer types referring to them online as peppers to bypass social media censorship. Pretty slick stuff.
Damn.
It's also why many of the peptides that you'll see available for online purchase are listed as being for research purposes and come with vague 5-star reviews from unnamed sources. Now, all this is to say that you can't go out there and just cop peptides willy-nilly. Instead, you gotta do it the 21st century American way. Shady supply chains via Chinese plug.
One of those vials sold through the kind of more public-facing middlemen would probably cost like $200, and each one was costing me like $15. That's how cheap this stuff is to manufacture in China, and there's so much money there are probably billions of dollars being made on just flipping this stuff to American consumers.
I sort of came to peptides through the San Francisco tech culture beat more so. I've been convinced both over the course of reporting and then also publishing the piece and seeing it do quite well. I think that 2026 is going to be the year of what I call consumer biotech.
Well, would you look at that? It's Jasmine's son. An independent reporter based in the metropolitan charging port for virgins known as San Francisco. Jasmine recently wrote a piece for the New York Times about how peptides from China were taking Silicon Valley by storm, given their popularity amongst biohackers and people who like getting attention for saying
Biohackers? I love
BBC
that.
3.141592.
In San Francisco, the internet is in fact real life, so peptides first showed up as a viral internet meme that was going around Twitter/X starting about June or July of last year, where I
Can we all agree that biohackers is the sickest fucking term ever? Fuck.
started hearing that everybody has a Chinese peptide dealer now, and it sort of became one of the little symbols of San Francisco, along with coding agents and Waymos and everything else, that everyone started talking about Chinese peptides. People would compare it even to trying a new browser or trying a new app. Like, they are the ones who want to be beta testing, they want to be early adopting, and yeah, sometimes you're going to have some bugs if you do that, but how are you going to be on the frontier? How are you going to get the benefits and the edge that nobody else is, unless you are also willing to accept those risks?
I have a whole
True.
peptide drawer in my fridge. I call it the girl dinner drawer.
Sick.
Okay. By touching these, am I going to explode?
No.
Or what is
You're safe.
this? What do we have here?
So I brought you Retatrutide.
This is all Retatrutide.
This is all Retatrutide.
Tori Pastori rhymes and is the founder of a marketing consultancy called Soup. Last year, she hosted a peptide-themed rave in San Francisco, which I would have attended had I not been preoccupied with my steroid quinceañera. Tori says that she's been taking peptides for about the last year and a half.
I really like hanging out online and seeing what the people in weird niche communities get up to and what they get excited about. I got engaged and was really wildly overweight. I was really, really sick. I had a lot of things wrong with me. And I went to the doctor, and this was right when all of the Ozempic and everything was first hitting the scene, and everyone was like, this is amazing. And I told my doctor, I was like, I just don't want to hate myself in my wedding pictures. I know I have a lot of weight to lose, can we try this? And she said, yeah, no problem. Prescribed it for me. And then I went to the pharmacy to go pick it up. And because my BMI was 34.7 and not 35, the pharmacy told me that my insurance wouldn't cover it, and it was going to be $1,000 a month. And I said, that's insane. So I called my friend, and instead of going through the pharmacy and just doing it that way, he'd started contacting all these labs in China and being like, how do I get this over here? How do I make these things myself? How do I give people access to this? So he started using himself as a lab rat. I trusted him. I was like, you know what, if nobody else, then at least he's doing it on himself first. First peptide shot. I had side effects that I would say 99% of people do not have. And
You have to have these equipped. You guys said you didn't have them equipped. You lied. You lied to me. You do need them equipped. Usable once per battle. I can charm one enemy per battle. Does charm mean it comes within the next battle, or?
Probably 2 or 3 months. I barely ate anything. I was throwing up every day. I pooped my pants twice in one weekend in public.
But haven't we all?
But haven't we all? Also, to answer your other question of what other peptides have I taken, I did a round of copper peptides.
What? Copper?
Copper?
Mm-hmm.
Copper?
Like what the penny's made of?
What?
You need that too. It's actually, the copper ones are really crazy. I'll bring you some next time. They're purple.
Wow.
They look like a video game item.
What does that do to you?
Yeah.
It's really good for your hair and for your nails and your skin, and a lot of the girls are taking them now.
But you're not taking that anymore.
No, I did a month of that.
And why'd you stop?
There's such a thing as copper toxicity, and you don't want to do that full time. It's not one that you should just do all the time.
Now, folks, I imagine that the more you hear about peptides and injections, the more wary of them you become. I get it. I'm a guy who likes to keep his blood clean in case anyone needs to drink it. But
And
those who are
detoxed.
more bullish on peptides say that the market for these things already goes well beyond the Silicon Valley biohacking types who are cool experimenting with Chinese Sigma heroin.
I used to get sick, maybe 4 or 5 times a year. I work hard, I don't sleep enough, I push my body. Now if I'm about to get sick, I inject Thymosin Alpha 1. And I don't get sick.
Max Macchioni is the co-founder of the health startup Superpower. With Superpower, Max believes that he's creating the first in the next generation of pharma companies, something he's calling Pharma 2.0, and he sees peptides as potentially a major part of that future.
Glam Leon, thank you for giving 10 subs and
Peptides are going to be, I think, a $1 trillion category. Injections are now a viable form of drug delivery, which opens up the kind of the drug purview to include other injectable peptides.
Damn.
And I think over the coming years, we're going to see many GLP-1-like drugs, but for everything else, come to market. I
That's
think
freaking
many
epic.
people see these broadly as these kind of fringe compounds. And the reality is
They're not
most things
fringe.
that are new start kind of fringe and then slowly
Or they
become
won't be for
mainstream,
long.
Right? I
True.
often recall that aphorism of the future is already here, but not evenly distributed. And I think many of the smartest people I know, many of the smartest biologists I know and doctors I know,
They're all taking
using
peptides.
They're familiar with peptides. Now, there are risks. I don't recommend people blindly take peptides. I
Yeah.
certainly don't recommend they order them from research use only sites online. I think if you have the foundations of health in check, that should be the default for everyone. That's what men used to be like. And now the modern world makes that really hard.
Yeah.
Because we're surrounded by a lot of things that impact our sex hormones and our androgen system in a negative, endocrine system in a negative way.
Well, I don't know anything about that. Personally, I'm fucking constantly. But I do have a sympathetic ear, Max.
Well, now.
And it certainly sucks to hear about all these things you and these sexless men are going through. My advice? Take a woman out to a nice jazz dinner. Pooh Bell's on 14th, that's a good spot. Once you go in there, ask for Jason. He'll show you the right table. And around 8:30, when it gets nice and dark, and Raoul starts tickling the ivories for his first solo of the night, I want you to look into her eyes and pull back a strand of her chestnut hair. Ask her about the last man to break her heart. Ask her what you can do to mend it. Then, when the timing is right, I want you to put out a cigarette into that cheesecake she ordered and give her a kiss. Not one that says I want you, but one that says I need you. You need me. We need us. Tonight, now, and forever. And if none of that works, just maybe try some peptides.
Yeah, well, I couldn't be more against this BS.
Oh, okay. Who's this fun sucker?
Oh my
Eric
God.
Topol is a cardiologist and director of the Scripps Research Translational Institute. He's also the author of multiple New York Times bestsellers, as well as the Ground Truths newsletter, where he covers various topics in the medical field, including his skepticism about peptides.
I'd love to see any of these peptides proven to be beneficial. If we find something that helps patients and people, I'm all for it. There are no trials that are being done. It's just all done through word of mouth and promotion. And
There's always haters for new technology, guys. These are guys that don't want you to be the best. It's because they're using this shit and they don't want you using it, okay?
longevity clinics and that kind of stuff. When we inject a drug in our body, we should know that it's safe, that it is what it says it is, and it's effective. That only can be done through clinical trials. Anything short of that is not science. It's just anecdotes, it's just bro science, or whatever you want to call it. It's not the real deal. You don't know whether you're injecting yourself with a placebo would give you the same sense of whatever it is that you're wanting to feel. There's a lot of money here. I don't know many peptides that are less than a couple $100s a shot. When you put up a few $100s for something each time, every month you go get it, talk about confirmation bias.
Oh,
I don't care about
you
the pushback.
can't.
I'm just telling the truth. I'm giving the facts.
Now, folks, when Instagram told me to get on Threads, I said, fuck that shit. But in an age of rising tech skepticism, peptides seem to be a rare moment of a Silicon Valley trend bleeding out into the general public.
Hearing the range of people for whom this is very appealing made me think that, like, yeah, this is going to be a huge thing. I think people are basically very willing to spend their own money in order to get hotter, to get healthier, and especially with decreasing amounts of trust and frustration with the American medical establishment, people are, in a relative sense, thinking like, well, why not sort of trust this influencer in this alternate route instead?
Are you worried about possible side effects?
Like pooping my pants again?
Sure.
Well, so people, even if this took 5 years off my life, at the end of my life, it would be worth it for what it's done for me.
Indeed, peptides seem to be a product that speak to our time like no other. An easy-to-use drug that's sometimes a really fun shade of purple and forgoes government approval, thus leaving the gamble of our health up to us, the people. Those of us inundated every day with images of seemingly regular citizens with perfect hair, perfect skin, and somehow 8 different abs on their stomach despite having a desk job at Salesforce. The folks who look at these substances, weigh the pros and cons, and still have the risk-taking appetite to give a Discord moderator a few Bitcoin to cop an order from China, wait a week for delivery, swirl up some dust in a vial of water, take out a needle, look in the mirror, and say, hey, guess it's worth a shot. For good work, I'm Dan Toomey.
I think it kind of began in bodybuilding.
Actually, it was bodybuilders and these like CrossFit type communities who first started experimenting with peptides.
If I talk to the average bodybuilder, is it safe to assume that they're using peptides?
I mean, I can't speak for all bodybuilders, but I think competitively speaking, like the ones that are doing well competitively, 99% of them are.
How did you develop your stack? Pause.
So to a certain degree, we're all our own science experiment. It is kind of our responsibility to making sure that like our health is in our hands. You know, so like every 3 to 4 months, I'm getting blood work done just to make sure everything's okay.
What are you benching right now?
Ah, shoot, bro, I don't really bench often.
Chest presses.
Yeah,
What's your max?
Okay.
What do you max out at?
I do like dumbbells.
Dumbbells. Okay.
Yeah.
So
like,
on each side, what's the biggest dumbbell that you do? Like 40s?
Like 130.
Damn.
Incline.